On April 18th to the 22nd, our crew took a trip to British International School, Shanghai Pudong, for a survey on a sociolinguistic investigation. We interviewed some of the students that participated in the Alchemist soccer tournament. We focused our investigation on some of the questions such as where are you from and which accent is more linked with kindness. As you can see, the interview did not go as well as planned. We didn't actually make the questions before we got to Alchemist, so this is the first problem we faced. We got back to Kaohsiung American School on April 23rd and started to plan out a rough draft for our interviews. We also created a questionnaire that will allow us to analyze certain perspectives on Mandarin accent. We created a questionnaire that targets specific positivist data from participants. Our questions were specifically designed to separate social-linguistic variables that gave us information about the differences on the Chinese accent and the Taiwanese accent. The first step was to target people that spoke Chinese fluently and to identify which dialect they identified with. From that, we could see the group of people who thought the dialect sounded more intelligent, harsher, or just soothing to the ear. The specific design allowed to gather data on correlation between a person's native language and their opinions about which dialects. We wanted to find out what a Chinese accent speaker might think about their own accent compared to the Taiwanese one. As time went on, we were able to get more than 60 replies, and even one from our Alchemist friends. We were able to get solid data and grasp a good conclusion for our sociolinguistic investigation.
The second step was to find interpretivist data from participants as we interviewed them. From the Taiwanese participants, we found out that most thought that both dialects were extremely different.
The differences between mainland Chinese and Taiwanese. I think Taiwanese Chinese is more friendly and more pleasant sounding. And secondly, I think it's more accurate, historically speaking, because most of the immigrants from Taiwan are from the old ages, where the old ages Chinese are much more traditional. And in China today, I would probably associate the Chinese with communism. Really confusing and mixed because they have different accents. You have the southern and you have the northern, western, stuff like that, eastern. So I think the Taiwanese accent is much more pleasant.
I think people who speak with Taiwanese accent seems more kind and familiar because they're usually older people, like in their 40s or 50s. And while people in Chinese accent, when I listen to them talk, I don't really think about much. It's just like the way they normal.
Other participants don't really seem to care about the differences between the two dialects.
Alright, so what I think about differences between mainland China accents and Taiwanese accents, besides letting me know that where that guy is from, I don't think it does a whole lot. Like, it's not gonna let me think otherwise about that person. It's just, oh, okay, you speak a certain way. That sounds different to what I'm used to, but
there's no difference. There's no reason to care about how a person speaks or what accent they have.
On the other hand, other participants simply despised the Chinese accent.
Mainland China accent is stupid.
I don't like mainland Chinese people, and because I don't like China.
The creation of the plan to distribute questionnaires was to target two different communities, Taiwanese and Chinese. The survey was created to target Mandarin community. Quote, please only fill this in if you speak Mandarin fluently, end quote, shows that the questionnaires are only to be answered by those who speak Mandarin. However, there were still 7% of the respondents that did not, quote, speak Mandarin fluently, end quote, which is a result of distribution of the survey to both students that speak Chinese and those that don't. The surveys was distributed by plan, which was to interview and collect data from other schools in China. This chance was represented by the Alchemist soccer competition, and some reliable data was extracted from it. However, we failed to grasp the chance fluidly, and to get data from competitors, resulting in only 2 interviews and 1 data response from them. This restricted our data in a skewed and biased perspective, as most of the people were Taiwanese origin instead of China. The data collected off this bad distribution of the survey were 72 respondents being more familiar with Taiwanese Mandarin and only a mere 18% more familiar to mainland Chinese Mandarin. Due to all these restrictions, we were unable to target both communities equally, resulting in our data being skewed towards the Taiwanese perspective.